Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is a bit of an impromptu video because I have two new things in my life that I'm really excited about and I just had to sit down and film. The first new thing is that I have a new camera. I'm shooting on the Sony a7 IV and it's my first time playing around with it for real. So let me know what you think if you see a difference in terms of quality and things like that. I'm excited and I'm learning more about it. So I would love to hear your feedback. The other thing is that I got an order in from Chanel Beauty and I just have to talk about it with you. I had to get it on my cheeks. I'm talking about the Le Beige Water Fresh blush in the shade Intense Coral. I am wearing it now. I am going to show you the demo and application method that I used and also talk about my experience with the Water Fresh line in general and my thoughts on these new releases. So let's get into it. If you have followed me for any amount of time, you will know that I love the Chanel Original Le Beige Water Fresh Tint. I wear the shade medium, and what these two products have in common in terms of formula concept is that they are watery serums that include these like pigment capsules that actually burst once you rub them into the skin. This is a very, very lightweight, sheer, ultra sheer tint. It almost feels like nothing at first. It's just like a hydrating serum, but it actually has a bit of pigment and it has this blurring quality to it that somehow makes the skin look like you have this slightly veiled filter, and it blurs the pores and it makes you look hydrated but not greasy, and I just love it. I did not pick up the foundation or the higher pigment version of this that they released because to me, what is special about this is that it's so sheer, and if I want higher coverage, I just add a drop of my higher coverage foundation into it. You can see I'm almost out of this, so I may test the new formula of that at some point when I finish, but I am really surprised by this. I actually was not planning on picking these up because my original idea of this was that it's going to be something super sheer, watercolor-like that really wouldn't show up on a great diversity of skin tones. But then I started seeing swatches and these are pigmented. I am really happy to see this because it means it's going to show up on a greater range of skin tones. So Intense Coral is the fourth deepest of 6 shades. There's light pink, light peach, warm pink, intense coral, deep apricot, and deep bronze. And deep apricot and deep bronze, based on what I've seen, do look really rich and pigmented and beautiful. And I have seen swatches on deeper skin tones and they do show up on the skin. So the Water Fresh blushes are $50 for half an ounce. This is, I think, a full ounce. Yeah. And so this is half the size of that. But now that I've played with it, I can tell you that it's going to last a really long time. So it comes with a pump and I really love the clear packaging of this. You can see exactly how much product you have. And let me swatch this for you. Your mind is about to be blown. So when I first swatched this, I just took a drop like that. That's all you need really for a sheer application. So this drop, you can see it's like a clear serum with pigment bubbles, and then the bubbles burst and create this beautiful liquid, fluid, watercolor-like serum across the hand. And honestly, you can build pigment with this. The more you use, the more pigment you can build. It does start to sink in and set down a little bit, and even though it looks glossy across the cheek, it actually starts to take on this like grippy quality that makes it much longer lasting than I thought it would be for a water-based liquid blush. I feel as excited about this as I did when I first tried the Water Fresh tint, which is that this feels like a truly new formula that does innovate, and it's not just a gimmick, right? It's not just like, ooh, these pigments burst and there's this kind of fun experience to the product. The product itself actually creates this gorgeous, like lit from within, skin-like luminous finish, but it doesn't feel tacky. It actually dries down even though it looks like real skin. So for someone like me that likes that real skin makeup look, I think this is something that you will really love. And even as someone with combo oily skin, I'm not worried that this is going to slide around my cheek. The best method of application for this, and I've tried it a couple of times, I have found, is to take a drop on the back of my hand, like I just did, burst the pigment bubbles on the back of your hand, and then while the blush is still juicy, take a fluffy synthetic brush, work it into the brush, and then lightly tap it across the cheeks. It almost blends itself. It has the most beautiful skin-like quality. And even though there's this transparency to the formula, like you can see my skin through the formula, it almost evens out coverage-wise and evens out skin tone underneath. I feel like it also simultaneously is glossy and also kind of filtering on the skin. And those two terms are often competing, right? Sometimes glossy can emphasize texture and something blurring can have a potentially mattifying effect. But actually, this makes the skin both glossy, juicy, and blurred. And so it has this really almost like hyper real skin-like quality, both on camera, but also in person. Like this is makeup that is going to look good in person. This shade, Intense Coral, is my summer dream blush shade. Actually like a year-round favorite. It has a touch of red and peach and orange, but it also has a kind of groundedness to it. There's almost like a clay-like quality that makes it very wearable. The tone mimics the blush tones that I naturally have if I'm in the sun or if I'm flushed. And I think that touch of red creates a really beautiful sun-kissed kind of look, maybe even a suntanned kind of look without the suntan. And I actually even sweep this across my forehead, like in my temples, and blend it into my bronzer because it has this neutral quality to it. I find that especially when it's blended into like a cream bronzer, I'm wearing the Makeup by Mario one today, it has a really natural sun-kissed look. Both of these, despite being very skin-like and luminous, actually stick around on the skin. And that's very exciting news for someone like me with oily combo skin. I just kind of touch up or powder in the T-zone and that's all I really need. Also, because of the nature of this watercolor formula, I think the edges of the blush really blend themselves. Something I struggle with really pigmented liquid blushes, or that can be difficult for makeup beginners, is that they can potentially apply in a patchy way or just be super pigmented in certain areas and kind of stick to parts of your skin. And this doesn't do that. It has like the most beautiful uniform flush across the cheeks, and the edges of the blush really kind of blend themselves because it is such a lightweight fluid formula. So personally, for my makeup tastes, I would recommend the brush method over applying it directly onto your cheek and then blending out the pigment on the cheek itself, just because I think that has the potential to lift up whatever base product or foundation or sunscreen, anything that you have underneath, because it is very fluid when you first pump it out. Actually rubbing it out on the back of your hand and creating that even wash of color then makes sure that you get that even wash of color across the cheeks rather than kind of mixing it while it's on the skin. Obviously, you can tell that I think this is a big step forward for Chanel in terms of shade options, pigmentation, but also in terms of technology. I feel like they're actually doing something new here, and I bet you we're going to see other brands release similar kinds of formulas. We've already seen Rose Inc. release their skin tint, but I have a feeling we're going to see other kinds of base products and cheek products in this sort of formula from other brands. So I will be keeping my eye out. It would be really interesting to see actually a liquid bronzer in this kind of formula. So Chanel, if you're watching, please make us that. I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments and I'll meet you there. I would love for you to obviously like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.